Are you ready?
Yeah,
We're not.
yeah. It's sounding good on here, but I don't know why the room isn't working.
We had that before with the plug underneath that desk, remember?
Yeah?
Was that one of the board meetings?
Well. Something unplugged there?
As long as it's recording, you're okay though, right?
It's great.
Yeah.
Huh?
He said it's working back there.
Can everybody in the back of the room hear us? Okay.
You gentlemen can hear us, right?
Okay. All right. We will call the October 23rd meeting of the Bruce Township Zoning Board of Appeals to order, 7:05. Roll call, Dana?
Tremblay,
Here.
Barrett,
Here.
Cook,
Here.
Moss,
Here.
Here. Item 3 is pledge allegiance. Please stand at the table. Pledge allegiance.
To the flag.
of
the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. I will just note that the township has a public comment policy. I think this evening I'll not go through it. If we do get people coming in, I guess we can always address that later. Okay. Item 4 is approval of the agenda.
So moved to approve the agenda.
Support.
Written.
Support.
Any comments? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Item 5, approval of the previous minutes. Any comments regarding the minutes?
Move to approve the minutes as submitted.
Support?
Support.
Moved and supported. No further comment. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes are approved. Item, the other. Item 6 is unfinished business, the Queensland variance. That item was tabled at the September 25th meeting, so if I could have a motion to take it off the table for discussion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and supported. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the item's off the table. Motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. I have a couple of comments prior to the presentation. Just, and I'm sure you're aware of this, but I want to make sure. There are a minimum of 3 affirmative votes needed to approve whatever the motion is. And approval of the items that are requested does not waive any other requirement or ordinance from the township or any other municipality. In section 161, 7.1, forms the basis for our decision, and we will go over those prior to a decision. and the decision may be appealed to the circuit court. There are timeframes that apply. Okay. Whoops. The application included 3 lots. I'm going to ask the board to separate the lots and address each one of them individually. I think it's probably less complicated and probably in your best interest that we do that rather than have one lot set the standard for the other 3. They may be separate issues that need to be discussed.
Do we need a motion to that effect, Mr.
Yes.
Chairman? I will move then that we look at each lot, number 2, number 7, number 8 individually, and take action on each individually.
Moved and supported. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we will separate them. And I guess at this time, it's, you can, whichever lot you prefer to go with, go right ahead, and then we have questions, we will certainly answer. Thanks.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Can you hear me? Is this mic picking up?
Yep.
Thank you for hearing our petition this evening, and apologize for any miscommunication that may have occurred over the September meeting. I'm glad to see you here today. This is a petition to seek a variance on the rear setback of building area for 3 sites in the Queensland Estates site condo development. The property is owned by SHD Properties. It is the petitioner. There is a preliminary site plan approval for 9 large site condo units developed under the R1A zoning or classification here in Township of Bruce. After the preliminary site plan approval was awarded, the engineer, Mr. Snyder, met with Eagle, State of Michigan, and they recommended that the wetlands that appear on the site plan adjacent to units 2, 7, and 8 be removed from the units themselves and placed into the common areas. That way, if you sort of lose control, if you sell a lot to the owner of Unit 2 and they build on the wetlands, the condominium association no longer has a sort of approval to, or not approval to stop that. So that was a strong, I was told, a strong recommendation from Eagle is to remove those wetland areas from the buildable areas. To do that, the rear setbacks from the buildable areas into 7 and 8 had to be reduced to 25 feet each. Be happy to answer any questions specifically about any of the units. The issues in the units as petitioned are all the same, so that's why I'm sort of lumping them all into one, even though you're going to reference them separately. It does not affect the buildable area. Does not affect the size of the homes that will go in there. They'll be built under the zoning ordinance and really will have no real effect as to the condition of the subdivision. There are no buildable areas behind these 3 units, 2, 7, and 8, so you're not going to be abutting a neighbor. It's the setbacks, which is the reason we have the setbacks, to give you sort of space in between these buildings. It's not going to affect that. So if anybody has any questions, I'd appreciate it to answer any questions you may have. I will say also before you get the developer, Mr. DeMille, is the principal of SHD Properties, is here as well. So.
Hello. Okay. There was some confusion as to what was stated on the application. We also have a document that was submitted to the township because it's not dated. Talking about the wetlands, the information that you just stated that was to be removed. And then there was comments regarding buffer zone not including, to also include the setback. That was on the application and in a couple places. We tried to clarify that and so that we knew what Eagle's responsibilities were as it relates to wetland. And I was never able to get through to them, but Mr. Hook was. So he had a conversation with them. He got some information. He has provided each one of the board members with a summary of the phone call. And this is a summary of a phone call. It's not a policy statement from Eagle, and it's not referencing anything other than that conversation. So I'm going to ask Mr. Hook to, I guess, go over his summary. So if you have any questions about that, we'll try to resolve those first.
Sure.
Well, basically, what they told me was that the established line for the wetland lands was the whole thing behind this. And basically, you found that, or that's what I think you just said. So anything beyond the borders of the wetland is the township's jurisdiction. And anything within the wetlands is theirs. So I think the way this is drawn up, that's pretty well described. So I think we're in pretty good shape that way.
Yeah, so where's the property line? Is it does the edge of the wetlands, is that the rear property line?
For each unit, are we talking about, or for the development as a whole?
No, for 2, 7, and 8.
That's right. So where the setback ends, so that's the property line. So
That is-
the wetlands could be completely within a common area, will not be, no
Okay.
individual unit will have wetlands in their unit.
Okay. So the requirement, as we understand it, for the buffer is based on Bruce Township's requirement, not Eagle's requirement.
We're talking about the setback when we talk about the buffer, correct?
The buffer, the 25-foot
The
buffer to the wetland.
Yep. Well, is that to a wetlands? I'm not, is that part of the ordinance?
Yes,
Okay.
I can, I have it in here somewhere. Maybe it's right here. Let's see. Well, I did have it here, so, but I will, give me just a second here, I will find that for you. Okay. Yes. I don't know if you want to look at this. It's under Natural Resources Green Belt.
What page are you on?
I am on 5-29. Yeah, go right ahead, go right ahead. I'm upside down here. I think it's, might be this one, I can't. It's
Yeah.
not. Is it? That's it right there, 25 feet.
Right, and I think that's why the 25-foot was put in there.
Yes.
So the buffer is, so from the buildable area to the property line is the 25-foot buffer. So there's nothing, you cannot build in that area. So you have the building envelope is drawn on here.
Right.
And then 25 foot, and then the wetlands.
Right.
So I think the way it's drawn, it creates that sufficient
Yeah.
buffer as prescribed in there.
Yeah. And on the other lots, which obviously aren't our concern at this point, you have 50 feet in there.
50, and so that
That's
is.
the setback line.
Yeah, so that's from the ordinance that you require the 50 feet from the edge of the property to the end of the building envelope, and that's the variance we're seeking here.
Right.
So on the 25 foot.
But within that 50 feet is the 25 feet buffer for the wetland that can't be filled, adjusted, or,
It's in excess of that 25. It's 50 feet on there. So what we're saying is,
I understand.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, I understand. I
Okay.
just want to make clear that within that 50 feet is the 25-foot buffer.
That's correct.
That, up to that 25-foot buffer, they can do what they want.
No. I mean, they can, dig up and clear trees and things like, you can't build a house back there. You can't build a pool back there. So the only building on the lot would be what's in that broken line area. So whether it's the house, or whether it's a garage, or whether it's a shed, or whether it's a pool, deck, whatever is available under the ordinance.
Okay?
And so knowing urban land, I'm guessing that's why the 25-foot was the number they came to, is because it met that buffer along with what they were looking for, so,
Yeah, the 25 feet is required.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? It's open to the board.
The letter that you got from Eagle requesting that you make this change,
We did not get a letter. It was a meeting with Mr. Snyder and somebody from Eagle.
so there's nothing in writing.
There's nothing in writing. It was just a strong suggestion, when you come back, please address this and come back, kind of thing.
The way that I heard it was there was too many issues in different areas, not necessarily here, that if you include the wetlands within the lot and an individual has control of it, they tend to maybe not pay so much attention to the wetland definition as much as an association now governs the entire perimeter of the wetlands.
Because it becomes part of the commons area for everybody.
That's correct.
That's right.
And that's why they were strongly suggesting, so that they're pretty sure that 9 people aren't going to just throw the rules to the wind. Perhaps 1 might, but not 9, so, in this case. Of course, other developments are bigger and smaller, so.
So, you made a statement earlier, John, that the adjustment wouldn't affect the buildable area. So, you're saying that it wouldn't affect what building you're putting on there, but it will restrict what anyone else can add later? Is that what I'm taking that to mean?
No, what I mean by that is, under the ordinance, there's sort of a required minimum buildable area in a R1A site, and this far exceeds what the requirement is. I don't know off the top of my head.
You're past the minimum.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can't remember what
get
it is, but-
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But anytime they come for this, each unit will be on file with the township, and anybody that comes in to build, the township will look at the permit, and it's got to be in that buildable area, so.
All right, on Lot 2, I don't think there's a lot of question that there's a variance that's required to satisfy that. So I guess, are there other questions? General or specific to Lot 2?
Well, yes, beyond the setback, the 25-foot buffer, isn't our rear yard setback on top of that?
25 feet is included in the 50-foot setback requirement.
So actually, from what this is showing, you're saying there should be another 25 foot.
In order to be compliant with our easement, the reason he's coming in for a variance is
Yes.
because the 25 feet is 25 feet less than our easement requirement. That's the reason for the variance.
Including the wetlands, we got far in excess.
In other words, he should.
Yes.
50 feet from wetlands.
Yeah,
To meet our requirements.
yes.
He can't do that.
So-
I want to.
So if you look at lot, if you,
So he's meeting the requirement for the natural resource.
For the buffer,
if
yes.
you look at lot 2, there's a sort of a right angle, and then it swoops down to the left. And I don't know if this is oriented north to south, but, so if that line had come across, it would have met the standard of the R1A setback requirement, but it cannot, it can because but it'd have to go through the wetlands, and Eagle's strong preference is that the wetlands be removed from the unit owners and be put into the association zone ownership.
You have any other questions, Don? Does that make sense to you?
No, it really doesn't.
Okay. The required 50-foot setback from the rear property line can't be met.
Right.
Within that 50 feet, the mandatory 25-foot buffer is included. So 25 feet of the
Okay,
50
okay.
feet is buffer.
Okay. I think I've got it now.
Okay.
And just conceptually, it's from a building, the measurement is from the building envelope to the back of the property line. And so you can't build anything in there, so you just can't build a house on in your neighbor's backyard kind of thing. So, in this case, that wetlands is there, so nobody's gonna put anything in that wetlands in the future. So that will always be unbuildable. So although there's only a 25-foot setback there, in effect, it's much larger than that because there's wetlands there and you can't build back there.
But it's still within your property line,
It is.
right? So
Well, no, it's not, I'm sorry. The wetlands is not, we're removing that and putting it in common area.
The wetlands going into the common.
no, that's what I understood, right?
Yeah.
It's technically in the
The association.
community, the association will own it, it's common.
That's right.
So what you're basically doing is preventing someone from violating the wetlands later,
That's right.
right?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah.
And putting the burden of maintaining them on the
On
association.
the general association. Makes sense.
And I've never been on the property. Is it just sort of reedy kind of wetlands, or is it water?
Oh, yeah, there's, yes.
So it'll be need to be
Won't be
maintained.
seen if you walk in there.
Ever again? Depends on what's back there. Mosquitoes, for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure. Biggest helicopters, I bet.
Yeah, you can't see it from the road very well. Any other questions, general or on lot 2?
Basically, by this, we still don't know where the dwelling will be located on the property.
Exactly, no.
And until we know that, I think we're in trouble here. The other thing that would have to be part of that would be, where's the septic system going to be? Because that's going to take up a portion of this, and with this being wetlands,
That's in the
I'm
front.
sure that's
That'd be
going
in the front, I
to
think.
Yeah, the lot itself exceeds the minimum lot that you need as a requirement.
be. Right.
So at that point, it would be like any other lot. The only difference is we're asking for that setback. That's it. The lot itself is greater than the minimum size lot that's required. So the septic will fit, the well will fit, all the needs will fit. And yes, of course, we would either put the one in the front or the one in the back, whichever makes sense at that point, so.
And the residence itself must be built in a buildable area, so within
Yeah, they got
The dots,
a site plan.
they've got-
And then to you guys, this is where it's going to be.
you'll have to approve it.
Building department is what I'm saying, not necessarily you guys.
And then if, in developments that Mr. DeMille's companies retain ownership, we make sure that there's building approval. So even just in terms of the look and feel of the subdivision, so.
this says 32 acres, this site, and we get 9 parcels on 32 acres.
The square that you see on there, number 1, number 2, I mean, that represents in excess of an 1,800-foot floor plan, I believe. And it's not there because that's where they're going to put the house, but it's there sort of to get an idea of what fits and what can be put there.
Yeah, I think the question is how far back will the house actually be or have to be?
It has to be completely within the buildable area.
Right.
So-
But,
So there's front yard requirements, backyard requirements. side
Yes,
yard. So,
yes.
yeah, it'll kind of nestle in there. You don't have a whole bunch of room. You can't put it an extra 100 feet this way, 100 feet that way, but.
But it's over a half acre.
You can't do that anyway.
It's over a half acre buildable on each of these lots, so.
any other questions?
Technically, the way I'm getting this, if we didn't give them the variance and we made it to 50 feet, they could include the wetlands in the 50 feet, and that wetland would be on that person's property then, right? And wouldn't keep you from doing everything you wanted to do anyway.
Yeah.
The way I'm seeing it.
Within the purlieus of the township, that's correct. Unfortunately, Eagle has told us that we're going to have trouble getting their approval if we do not get these variances or work around these wetlands. So that's why we had to come to from a variance, because if they weren't giving us a problem, we wouldn't be here, because we just build within the envelopes that was approved, that had the building envelope, or the sight lines within the wetland
And
area.
they didn't say they necessarily wouldn't approve it. They said they highly recommend that we do this. So we don't have to be like hitting the head to understand. They want this done.
So, and then that's why we have to seek a variance and not just the change of the site plan.
Yeah, I think everyone's interest is to protect the wetlands. There's no question about that. So,
Yeah.
I don't think it's our intent to make life. You can't get them on the phone. How do you get them?
Yeah.
Only hard called down.
I don't know why she got back to him. Man.
She recognized the name.
I guess so.
Is that what it was?
I guess so.
Reputation precedes.
Yeah.
Older boss wouldn't call me back either.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, are there any other questions at this point on Lot 2? Okay. John? You're good?
Yeah.
Okay. You're good?
I'm good.
Okay. So, all right, prior to the board deliberating on Lot 2, I'm going to just, and I'm sure you're aware of these, paraphrase what the requirements are and what the criteria are that the board has to consider when making its decision. Number 1 is a strict enforcement of the zoning ordinance would cause a practical difficulty and deprive the owner of rights enjoyed by all other property owners owning property in the same zoning district. 2 is conditions and circumstances are unique to the property. 3, conditions and circumstances unique to the property were not created by the owner or the predecessor in title. 4 is a requested variance will not confer special privileges that are denied other properties similarly situated in the same zoning district. And 5, the requested variance will not be contrary to the spirit and intent of the township zoning ordinance. So that's kind of paraphrased. So with those items in mind, is there further discussion
On Lot 2.
on Lot 2? Okay. Here, I think it's not too hard to see what they need on Lot 2. It's pretty clear. All right, no further discussion. I would entertain a motion on Lot 2, on the request for variance on Lot 2. Do we need to state the reasons? Pardon? Why we should or why we shouldn't, yes. Exactly. Okay.
Like I said, I'm very concerned without having a very specific plan for that site, be able to approve this.
Your question is, how far back will the house really be? Is
Right.
that what you're,
Right.
Yeah.
And with the other factors that are on this drawing about the changing soil conditions and this type of thing, by the time a septic system is put in there, can they meet any requirements that we set down?
do you have permits for the septic in here yet?
They won't give them to us until we get the road done and you have access to the lots. I mean,
They've been,
we're a builder, I mean, we could build on them ourselves. I can tell you the building envelope meets the requirements, otherwise we wouldn't be able to get this far. The engineer knows that we can put a house on there that meets the requirements that we're setting forth as 2,000 square feet. And with that, the amount of septic field that's required for that, the engineer already knows all that, so they know how big that has to be. These were all condo site deeds, so we went through, and I was there when we dug them, to determine that the soil is suitable for the percolation and all that, otherwise we wouldn't have got this far, so. And we did prep, we own another parcel right behind this. While we were there, we went over there and did that too, just to get it out of the way, because the excavator's already there. We have 28 more that we could do on the other side of this, whatever, this brush row or this, wet area. On the other, that's being farmed now, so we're only concerned about this, but just so you know, that's, in the upcoming, and that was the engineer basically did all of that at the same time, so. And that's Pete Snyder, and if anybody knows Urban Land or Pete Snyder, he's so bright as rain. He doesn't, he's very thorough.
So you're saying this property has been perked?
Yes, sir,
Into-
that's correct. But we haven't got a permit to build a house yet, of course. so
Right.
But before we get that, when we get this done, if you approve us, then we come in with our site plan, as you know, with the layout from the engineer, the elevations and everything again to the building department. This is where we'd like to build the house, this is how this is gonna go. And it gets approved at that point again for the construction.
There was a perk test done for preliminary site plan approval,
There
correct?
has to be,
Yeah,
right?
so,
That already got done. So we know it perks and all that. What I'm saying is that you'll come in with a site plan, piece of paper that says, this is how big your house is gonna be, this is where the septic's gonna be, this is where the well's gonna be, this is the driveway, and, everything's laid out, so. And it has to be submitted for approval before we get our building permit, so.
So basically, the approval for this variant doesn't allow them to build, it only lets them to move forward.
Correct.
Right? They still have to have approval for specific sizes, locations.
They still have to come to the planning commission.
back to the planning.
final approval.
For final site kind of approval, which then would go to the board once the planning commission.
And you have a preliminary, at least, idea of the size of your septic system based on the
Yeah, the size of the house determines the size of.
number of bedrooms in the
Yeah,
house.
So that's already, yeah,
So you-
predetermined, if you would. It's not in our, yeah, we don't get to say it is what it is.
Yeah. So based on that, I guess what I'm saying is, it'll probably go in the front, and you have sufficient room for the system, the driveway, and a reserve area.
Correct.
Okay.
And with the site condo, there's a extra step in development dealing with Macomb County Department of Health, and they have to review and make sure that there's a adequate plan in place for the sewer, the septic and the well. That's an extra step that we have to take when sewer and water are not available, so.
Just recently, they added another step for storm water and such, that we have to make sure that the water is able to be permeable, it's able to go through and get away, and it's more than just storing it in the pond now. We have to make sure that it can dissipate and all that, and that, we have to meet that criteria as well. So that was something that.
Well, like I said, that is my concern, and I have a kind of a personal reason for that. I live across the road from What used to be the Girl Scout camp.
Oh, yeah, I know where that's at, yeah.
Well, Girl Scout camp was sold because of people's septic systems leaching into East Mill Pond. And I certainly understand that that can be a problem. So if it's been pretty well reconciled, I guess I can agree to it.
Yeah, I'm, I obviously don't know exactly what all the conversations were, but I know you have, to get at least preliminary information from the health department as to how many feet you need, how much space you need, how big the makeup area has to be.
Right.
And that should be in your hands.
That all had to be done ever before they
Right.
put a scratch in the paper.
Yeah.
We had to make sure the ground was worthy of doing this.
Before you bought it?
Oh, heck no, no. No, I've owned that a long time,
No?
probably 20 years at least I've had that parcel. Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, we still need a motion to either approve or deny.
As long as there's sufficient control that the septic systems don't get into the wetlands and the house is minimum of the 25 feet plus from the wetlands border, I feel that it should be approved.
Or do you want to make a motion to approve and state the reasons?
Yes, I guess I could do that. Make a motion to approve it based on the other controls that are in place, control the location of the septic system and the building with the distance from the wetlands. It should make a, I don't want
I think what you're setting up is qualifications to the approval, which will be covered during the engineering review
to. Right.
of the planning
Well,
process.
yeah,
Yes.
but also I think we can probably also add that the unique circumstances of the piece of property with the wetlands being as they are, it was not created by the owner. It is a situation that exists there. So I guess backing up again, Dana, the next one would be that the unique circumstances of the property would support the motion to approve that it was not created by the owner.
Would I also suggest that the proposed setback by the developer is consistent with 161.521. The natural resource green belt, 25 feet.
Right. Yeah. And I think it would also be the same consideration that we would give similar properties seeking the same type of variance. I am also going to suggest that we include that there is a notice of variance placed on the deed of the property that outlines the restrictions, again, to inform the purchaser, but also to protect the wetlands.
Mr. Chairman, what we can do is include that in the recitation in the master deed and attach a copy of it, the approved motion to the master deed itself.
Okay, so that would, go ahead.
I just have a question.
Yep.
I know we've got a motion in process. Is there any plan to put any signage in your development?
An entry sign?
To label where the wetlands
Oh.
are for the property owners?
No, we never
So it
discussed
identifies that
I
as,
think it's a
yes.
good idea.
Yeah.
We might be able
Yeah, we're-
to maybe assign every 100 feet or something like that, delineate.
Where we're going to make a recommendation, honestly, that,
Yeah.
because you have other wetlands and we don't have anything to do, and that's a good suggestion, Mike. We're going to recommend back to planning that the homeowners association be required to place signage, and to be worked out that if they change, I don't know if they would be in the bylaws or wherever it is, but wherever it is, that those particular items can't be changed
Yeah,
by the-
maintained as well. Yeah.
by the homeowners association, if they're in their bylaws, but if there's a better place, you know better than I where to put it. But that will go back to planning, because obviously there's other lots that have wetlands on them that we are discussing here tonight, so.
If there's a motion that Dana has come up with after all the stuff that we've said, I will support the motion.
You know what it is? Can you repeat it?
No,
I think I can.
no, Dana's writing feverishly, though. Right.
Do we have an actual motion?
Yes.
Yeah, we
I think we had a motion to approve the 25-foot variance on Lot 2, and the stated reasons that the other controls are in place regarding the septic, et cetera.
In the building positioning.
Okay. You're better at this than I am, Dana, I hope.
Just writing in the margins at this point, I can see.
Yeah, right. That the conditions and circumstances of wetlands are unique to this piece of property, and that it was not, the situation was not created by the owner or the prior owner. That it's consistent with the section,
161,
160.
5.21. Natural resources.
That's on the 25-foot buffer area. And
I think one thing I would like to leave out of that is talking the prior owner. We don't know if the prior owner has done something to create those wetlands by damming a stream up or
that's fine.
of this owner, yes. Prior owner, no.
Yeah, I assume it's a glacier that's about
Well, I
10,000 years
I am
ago.
too, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're
Don't
probably
think-
right.
Long time, I think.
Yeah,
I don't think it's,
that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. And then also to include the notice of variance. And again, that can be finalized at planning to make sure it satisfies the requirements. And again, we're only able to make the recommendation back to planning on the signage, but we will also do that. Is there anything else?
No.
You support the motion? We have a motion, we have support. Are there any other comments, concerns, questions? Hearing none. Roll call, please, Dana.
Tremblay,
Yes.
Barrett,
Yes.
Cook, Moss,
Yes.
Falcone.
Yes. So the variance for Lot 2 is granted. I don't think we need to spend a ton of time on lots 7 and 8, but we do need to address them individually. So Lot 7, is there anything on Lot 7?
One thing I noticed and bring to your attention is, in falls out 3, if you look in the site criteria portion of the site plan, this site plan is assuming that these variances are passed. You'll note that the building setbacks takes in the variance, it lists the variance for the 3 lots. It's very small. I will put it elsewhere in the master deed, but it will be as part of the site plan, which is part of the master deed. It gets recorded, so.
Any questions, comments from the board regarding?
I think Lot 2 seemed to be the worst case, right? So 7 and 8 seem to make sense to do the same.
Is part of the motion, do we say anything about the EGLE requirement recommendation? Or should we have?
We should.
I don't think that,
Really not our call. I mean, we heard what they said, but I don't think it's really our position to say, yeah, we agree with that, or we don't agree with it.
Well, I didn't want to agree or
Adhere
disagree
to
with it, but that's the motivating factor for the developer.
It's the basis of the hardship, yeah.
Correct.
Right, yeah. So to add in something like per Eagle's recommendation,
I mean, it helps support the motion.
Okay.
If we could amend the motion more.
so you want to amend the first motion to include the hardship was created by the Eagles.
EGLE's highly recommend.
yeah, I don't know that they created the hardship, but they recommended the variant, right?
Because the developer stated that if EGLE hadn't raised a fuss, they wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the driving factors.
So tell me what you wanted to say. Well, first of all, will the seconder of the motion,
Yeah, yes, I'll,
okay,
I'll allow it.
so we don't have to withdraw everything, will, okay.
How about the original motion maker?
yeah, how about the original?
You okay with amending the original?
You're okay, okay, so we don't have
I
to
would
withdraw
just-
anything.
I would just add that in support of our motion, that the primary motivating factor was a high recommendation from EGLE to create a buffer between the wetlands and the building area.
Now we're good. Is that right?
Pardon me?
Well, I guess it'd be the recommendation of Eagle to remove wetlands from individual units and place them from ownership and place them into common area.
It's a common area, but it's not the specific ownership, because they didn't want one individual to do something they shouldn't.
Yeah, I'll change my, that the highly recommended by EGLE to move the wetlands into the common area.
Well, you had another option.
What's that?
Wait 10,000 years, maybe? Wow.
Drain the
No,
swamp?
no,
We've tried that.
Global warming.
You could have bought some more, right? I
What was
mean,
the other option?
they can remediate that area if they wanted to use it. I don't know,
We could
was
talk
it-
about remediation off the record and how attractive that is.
Yeah, well, that's what I said, you had another option, so, not practical, but. All right, is that the motion?
Sounds like it.
Okay,
Sounds like it to me.
all right. So, on the amended motion, roll call, please, Dana.
Mike Tremblay,
Yes.
Barrett,
Yes.
Cook,
Yes.
Moss,
Yes,
Pacwa.
Yes. All right, back to Lot 7. Is there anything, lots 7 and 8, I will tell you, without the building there, created the questions as to how much of a variance you actually needed based on how far back that piece of, that building may be. Normally, the variance that is granted on a request like this is very specific to the, it's not a blanket 25 foot. And that was one of the difficulties that we were having with this, without an approved site plan.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to sort of get back and forth before this meeting, because I think this would be a better question for Mr. Snyder. But looking at the site plan and how it's set up, I believe the 25-foot is close enough, and also to keep the units within the R1A size requirements. So if you'd gone, a little further back, at 35-foot, you may not be able to keep it a 1 acre lot. So. And that's a non-educated guess, but looking at the site plan and how close it is to the 1 acre on both of those compared to the other lots, I think that's where that comes in.
Well,
And of course, excuse me.
Go ahead.
Of course, what is not typical is that we're not talking about a setback to a rear property line. We're talking about a setback as it relates to the 25-foot buffer of the wetland.
Right, and that's part of what I brought up originally, that it really doesn't affect, it really doesn't affect the neighborhood. There's not a house behind there. You're not putting a house next to somebody's back window or something like that. So it's non-usable land. We're just moving sort of a property line.
Essentially, the property line got changed by Eagles.
That's right. Correct.
All right, I'm not going to go through the criteria again. I think you're all familiar with that. Are there any other questions, comments, concerns?
Is the reason you separated this is because we really should consider each parcel?
Yes. Yes.
No other reason other than that?
No. The township accepted all on one application, and, which is fine. But I think if there are unique circumstances on any of the lots that don't pertain to the, to lot two. In other words, if, I guess, my thinking was if lot 7 had a specific requirement considering them all, it may negatively affect one of the other two. So addressing them individually eliminates that problem, I think. So that's why I wanted them separate.
I mean, we could potentially nitpick and make the setback bigger on 7. But how practical is that?
Well, yeah,
Closer to 1 acre,
yeah,
perhaps.
yeah,
Closer to the setback
yeah.
requirement.
Yeah, the buildable areas are real close on.
Right.
Oh,
That's what you lose.
Given the width of that, you probably only got a couple feet, right? So,
Yeah, it's nitpicking.
Yeah.
yeah, it's not, you're not
Why
going
not
to.
leave them all the same if it's not
Yeah,
really
you're not going
changing
to accomplish
anything?
a whole lot,
Yep.
if anything, so, all right. Last time, questions, comments, further concerns? All right, well, accept at this point a motion, the requested variance on lot 7.
I'll make a motion to approve the variance request on lot 7 for the same reasons given for lot 2.
I'll support.
Moved and supported. Any further comments, questions, concerns? Hearing none, roll call. Dana?
Yes.
Moss,
Yes.
Barrett,
Yes.
Tremblay,
Yes.
Gunkel.
Yes. Lot number 8.
I'll make the motion to approve the variance for lot 8 as requested and with all the stated reasons as stated in lot 2.
Support.
Support. Moved and supported. Any further Questions, comments? Hearing none. Roll call, Dana?
Moss,
Yes.
Cook,
Yes.
Tremblay,
Yes.
Barrett,
Yes.
O'Connor.
Yes. The variances on all three lots are granted, and again, I would just reemphasize that all the other township requirements, state requirements, federal requirements, whatever they may be, are in place and supersede anything that may have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman,
What do you guys
board
think the timing
members.
is for coming for
I was
final approval, you think?
told engineering could start tomorrow, so we'll get that through, and then final approval after that. The master deed's already written with a couple of edits, but we're ready to go on that too, so. Probably first of the year, around there.
Yeah, probably ready to build.
Next spring, so, thank you. Thanks,
Don't
Dana.
beat the step on it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, yep, the application was confusing if you,
Oh, was it? I'm sorry.
well, it is, you know,
Not your
if you're
fault.
sorry about it, it was on the Eagle requirements.
Oh, yeah, we didn't get into formal,
Well, when I first read it, I don't know if Dana talked to you, it sounded like that buffer had to include the additional 25 feet.
What do you mean the additional? Additional on top of the 50?
So 25 feet, and then you start looking at setbacks.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that's why we initially tried to contact, because that would make a big difference, yeah. So, all right, thank you for the information, appreciate it.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
See you guys.
Have a good night, everybody.
How many lots left in Pond Creek?
Oh, gosh, so Pine Creek's done, right?
Is it really?
Pine Creek. The corporate looks at that. Pine Creek. So well before it was built, we didn't even finish.
You're kidding. Wow.
Anthony Lombardo. Don't tell him. He kicked my butt over. He says, "Why didn't you raise the price? What's wrong with you?" I was happy to sell them. Thanks, guys.
See you guys.
Okay. And we will make the recommendation to planning. Item 7 is new business. Any new business? No new business. Item 8, comments from the floor.
Just let the zoning board know that there was no planning commission meeting in October.
Okay. Any communications or comments for the board from anyone?
Anybody interested in serving on the Parks and Rec Commission?
Thought you had people there.
We're looking for an alternate.
No?
Mike Philbrook is serving temporarily until some. So if you know of anybody who's interested, have a contact the township.
Any other comments? Hearing none, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support. Not debatable.
Well, on the,
We're good.